Music.
Reviews.
Chat.
Poems.
Comedy. Writing. Interviews.
ELFM, it's radio, but so much more.
My name's Natalie Quatermass.
And I'm Henry Raby.
And together we are
Vandal
Factory.
Factory.
Oh, lovely to have you all here, folks, on our third ever episode of the Vandal Factory show. We're here talking about art and activism.
We're also a little bit of a distance away, Natalie.
We are.
We're sort of keeping it safe, so there's no more of that intimate banter. This is all socially distanced banter.
I can't punch you anymore and give you a hearty slap on the back.
So if you feel there's an increase in Henry's jibes and a decrease in Natalie's temperament and resilience.
Yeah, we've got a nice little space between us. But how are you, Henry? How's your hope? How's your anger?
I don't know. I'm feeling like, come on, let's get on with January 2022.
Oh, really?
Yeah, a little bit like, well, it ain't getting better, so we've got to try and make it not worse, I guess.
Oh, well, yeah, lovely. I like that not determinism, that's something else. Determination that you've got, that's good.
How about you, Nat? How's your hope/anger?
Pretty non-existent. It's more like, how's your joy versus how's your despair?
You're a Christmassy person. You're looking Christmassy.
I am. This is what my Nat's Provocation Stations is going to be about. But I'm struggling to find much hope or anger at the moment. I'm more wallowing in between.
Just a good old Christmas wallow.
Yeah, just a good old Christmas wallow. See you in January. Go on, what you been up to?
So a couple of weeks ago, I went to join the UCU picket lines, UCU University College Union. They've been on strike for the 4 fights. Do you want to know what the 4 fights are?
I would love to know what the 4 fights are, Henry.
The 4 fights are for, you're going to love these, Nat. They are for equality.
I love that.
They are for workload, better workload. So
good.
So not more workload.
More workload. We demand more work.
They want job security.
Yes, good idea.
And I didn't think of that. And they want fair pay. So even though they've been in these fights for like a couple of years now, I was at the picket lines over in York, and they're still maybe that's where my hope comes from. They're still cracking on and doing it, even with the weather, even with the COVID, with the circumstances. Like, people are still there on those pickets. So can I play a song for them, Natalie?
Oh, go on then.
If I must. So this is a song by an American folk singer called Anne Feeney, who sadly passed away this year, but she leaves a huge, massive legacy of music and activism. And this goes out to everyone. There's been strikes with loads of courier organisations, strikes... I thought
you said strikes with loads of curry. I was like, I'm there.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
The lots of couriers unions across the UK, including in Blackpool and Sheffield, have been on strike. So this is a song for them, and it's called A War on the Workers. But it's why we should fight the war on the workers. It's not advocating for a war on the workers.
Thank you for clarifying.
Listen up, we've got a war zone here today, right in our heartland. And across the USA, these multinational bastards don't use tanks and guns, it's true. But they've declared a war on us, fight back, it's up to you. Oh, it's a war on the workers.
War on the workers.
Oh, it's a war on the workers.
War on the workers.
Oh, it's a war on the workers. And it's time we started calling the shots. Going to work could be the death of you and me, but we're not unarmed. Our weapon, solidarity. Jim Beals and Karen Silkwood, the list goes on and on. With every year that passes, 60,000 more gone. Oh, it's a war on the workers.
War on the workers.
Oh, it's a war on the workers.
War on the workers.
Oh, it's a war on the workers. And it's time we started calling the shots. When they boost your copay,
war on the workers.
Don't you know what to say?
War on the workers.
When they talk private flexibility.
War on the workers.
Every working stiff can see.
War on the workers.
Now when they poison your water,
War on the workers.
don't go like lambs to the slaughter.
War on the workers.
And when they foul up the air,
War on the workers.
you gotta show that you care.
War on the workers.
When they talk WTO,
War on the workers.
you best be screaming hell no.
War on the workers.
Oh, that's a war on the workers.
War on the workers.
Oh, it's a war on the workers.
War on the workers.
Oh, it's a war on the workers. It's a war on public education. It's a war on child labor protection. It's a war on the 8-hour day. It's a war on occupational health and safety. It's a war on social security. Now, thanks to WTO, GATT, NAFTA, MAI, the IMF, and the World Bank, it's a worldwide war. Oh, it's a war on the workers.
War on the workers.
Yeah, it's a war on the workers.
War on the workers.
Oh, it's a war on the workers. And it's time, sisters and brothers, you know it's time right now. I said it's time we started calling the shots.
That was the living legend that, well,
Oh, no, Henry.
got sad now. That was the
Living through
Yeah,
her music
yeah, I
and in
dreamed-
our spirits
hey,
and hearts.
I dreamed I saw Anfini last night as live as You or Me. There we go. That's
Yeah.
the old reference. So that was from her 2001 album Have You Been to Jail for Justice? Do check her out. But it's time now for Nat's Provocation Stations.
The chat train is pulling into Nat's provocation station.
I love Christmas time. I am here for it. The fairy lights, the families, the friends, the food, and the wine. Yes, please. And every single year, I manage to forget how sad I get. It always hits me, hook, line, and sinker, square in the face. Yes, 'tis the season for the tears of a clown. Whether you are religious or drowning in consumerism or just trying to get through it, the darkness in our days is one thing that we all have in common, at least in this part of the world. I know I'm not alone in saying that these long, dark days affect me deeply, physically, emotionally, spiritually. Every bone in my body is demanding to hibernate and not be woken up until the crocuses come up. These dark days invite a fair bit of introspection. I cannot get that word right. Introspection. Yay! So please indulge me. These dark days highlight the gap between the haves and the have-nots in the many forms that they take. Whether it's those that can afford presents and parties compared to those that can't afford food or energy bills, or maybe it's those who have stable family and friendships compared to those that find themselves isolated and alone. Maybe it's those who can find joy within themselves compared to those who, for whatever reason, cannot. And my heart is bouncing in between these gaps, ensuring that I celebrate for all that I have whilst trying to be thoughtful and caring for those that have less. My heart tells me that I should be solely focused on the have-nots, that I should be trying to write a motivational call to arms that would encourage everyone and anyone who has got something to give it freely and with an open heart. After all, isn't that what most Christmas stories are about? Maybe I should be giving you a socialist spin on A Christmas Carol and talk about how instead of throwing the poor caroling rabbit a penny for a turkey, Scrooge should be looking to use his wealth and status to make a systematic changes for the industrial class system at his time. But it's also at this time of year when my heart struggles to find very much to give. I struggle to turn up for my friends or my community, never mind people I don't know. I struggle to find hope or anger. But this is Nat's Provocation provocation stations on our show about art and activism. So come on, Quatermass, give us a definition. In all definitions of activism, and believe me, I've read a few, there are always a couple of mentions of change and action. But what about the times when we can't find the energy to believe in building a better future? In order to make meaningful change, we have to believe it's possible. That's why we talk about hope on this show. And another word for hope is belief or faith. And isn't this the time of year to find faith? There is light in darkness. You just have to find it. These are the words written by Bell Hooks, who sadly passed away this week. She was a pioneering social justice activist, academic and author, and I've really found solace in rereading various quotes of hers that have floated across the internet this week. There is light in darkness. You just have to find it. My hope is that in these darkest of days, we can all take a moment to find the light, find our faith in a better future, whatever that means for you and your community. I hope you can find time to nourish yourself so that you've got something to give when the crocuses come up. And I'll leave you with something else that Bell Hooks wrote. Greed subsumes love and compassion. Living simply makes room for them. Living simply is the primary way everyone can resist greed every day. Living simply makes loving simple. So I am going to slide into my banger of the hour, which is my go-to song when I'm struggling to find hope. This is the legendary Sam Cooke, A Change Is Gonna Come.
I was born by the river in a little tent. Oh, and just like the river, I've been running ever since. It's been a long time coming, but I know a change gonna come. Oh, yes it will. It's been too hard living, but I'm afraid to die. 'Cause I don't know what's up there beyond the sky. It's been a long time coming, but I know a change gonna come. Oh, yes it will. I go to the movie and I go downtown. Somebody keep telling me don't hang around. It's been a long time coming, but I know a change gonna come. Oh, yes it will. Then I go to my brother and I say, brother, help me please. But he winds up knocking me back down on my knees. Lord, there've been times that I thought I couldn't last for long. but I know change gon' come. Oh, yes it will.
Okay, folks, it's time for our very first interview of this episode of Vandal Factory, and we were absolutely delighted to catch up with the legend that is Mr. Dermot Daly. So we went to see his show, the show he's just directed, which he talks about in our interview. But we just wanted to set up, how do we know Dermot Daly? Well, I know him through...
How don't we know Dermot Daly?
Well, I first met him on your birthday night out, so it's probably...
Did you?
Yeah.
When we did karaoke?
Yeah, we did karaoke, mate.
I went for a curry.
Yeah.
Oh, remember those days?
Yeah,
The
karaoke
past.
and curry.
Oh, Dermot is just one of the finest people to work with. I've worked with him as a youth theatre practitioner. He's a filmmaker, he's an actor, he was a teacher. He's one of those just really super talented, amazingly sound. He's just a brilliant father and husband, and oh God, I cannot sing his praises enough. So when he for it, and this particular My Voice Was Heard But It Was Ignored was also a Red Ladder Theatre Company production and was supported by Leeds Playhouse and Oldham Coliseum Theatre as well. And we're hoping that it's finished the current tour, but it's going to have another life, possibly in Edinburgh or into 2022. So everyone should definitely keep an eye out if you didn't manage to catch it this time. This is our interview with Dermot.
Hiya, Dermot. How you doing?
All right, mate. How are you?
Good. I'm all right. I'm a bit sleepy.
I know that feeling.
Yeah. How-
Sleep is it's overrated. I think is sleep. You can't do stuff when you're sleeping.
So we've managed to catch you in like a 50-minute break in between. What are you doing at the moment?
At the minute, I am lecturing at the Conservatoire in Leeds.
Lovely. You're in a lovely setting. You've got a guitar, an out of tune electric guitar in your hands.
When I think of the word conservatoire, I don't associate it with out of tune guitars.
Well, I mean, when I think of the word conservatoire, you've got to kind of say it in that kind of twang, haven't you? I consistently feel a bit weird being a lecturer at a conservatoire because it's not the sort of thing that people like me do.
What's
maybe
people
it
like
is that.
you? What does that mean?
Well, I don't know. Conservatoires, like when I was kind of 18, 19, 20, they were kind of where all the rich kids went.
Right.
And, those people who had like huge access to art and libraries and vast amounts of tea. And I think that it feels like it's bucking that trend a little bit. And I'm genuinely really pleased to be part of, the faculty here and kind of driving that change a little bit.
But the real reason we've got you here, Dermot Daly, is because you have just directed a marvellous show called My Voice Was Heard But It Was Ignored.
Yeah, the tour finished 2 days ago, 3 days. I don't even know what day it is. A couple of days ago. We finished in Sheffield. We finished at the Crucible in Sheffield, which was a bucket list thing for me, I think.
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah, I mean, we started the show at Leeds Playhouse, and again, that was another bucket list thing. Like the big screens outside the Playhouse that kind of look over towards the bus station and what used to be the police station. The what is it now? The car park, Victoria John Lewis thing.
Yeah.
And kind of seeing our poster on that kind of big screen was quite moving. The first time I saw it, it was actually quite moving. There was a show that happened at the Playhouse years ago called The Hounding of David Olawale. And David Olawale was an immigrant. He was a black immigrant who came to Leeds, who essentially was killed by the police. The police that killed him were based at Millgarth Police Station, which is directly opposite the Playhouse.
Mm-hmm.
And I will never forget when that show opened. This was before like LED screens and all that sort of stuff. So it was a big kind of massive vinyl poster that was on the side of the Playhouse looking back to Millgarth, and the poster was his face. The hairs on the back of my neck have gone now because there's something about 30 years later, he won. To kind of be in that position is kind of beautiful.
I feel like that is a massive rabbit hole that I'm thinking about, that like talking about victories and like small victories or symbolic victories that protest movements and activist groups can focus on, or maybe not focus enough on. If we're always focusing on the next battle or what we get wrong or what's not right.
We've always got to be heartened by the fact that actually we are further on than we were, but we're not as far on as we need to be.
We haven't even talked about the show yet. What was?
Oh yeah. I'm dancing
So
around it.
So why don't you tell us about the genesis of this project? My Voice Was Heard.
So My Voice Was Heard, but it was ignored. It's a play. It was written by a playwright called Nana Kofi Kafour, who's based in Stockport, and he was on attachment with Box of Tricks Theatre in Manchester, and they did a reading of it in January 2020, I think, or December 2019. But it was
okay. Pre the before times, pre-COVID.
The before time, when everything was okay. Everything was okay. Because obviously it's all gone wrong in the last year. Everything was hunky-dory before then. But no, so he wrote it into, I think that's right, he wrote it in 2019. It's a play that it's really difficult to put it into simple sound bites. It investigates everything. You know, it kind of takes its genesis from race, but it also touches upon sex, gender, sexuality, femininity, masculinity, toxic masculinity, class, power structures,
education. It's got it all.
It's packed. It's so packed, and it's an 80-minute show that is, in the nicest way, quite brutal. It takes a while to kind of process everything afterwards, and I've been in that bubble for this time around for a month, and I'm still not out of it yet. I've still not processed it all because there's a lot. January 2020, Rod saw it in Manchester. I got a phone call in May or June last year. What were we in? 2021? Yeah, 2020. So I got a phone call in May or June 2020 asking if I'd be interested. I said yes, of course, and then read the script and screamed yes. I've always wanted to work with Red Ladder Theatre Company. I always thought I'd work with them as an actor. Red Ladder have a massive history of just doing work that speaks, that talks about social justice, that looks into areas of our lives and our communities and our society that we don't always have a light on. And Rod is an amazing human being, just on his own. He's just a lovely bloke. We got through to our dress rehearsal on the 26th, which was our last dress rehearsal on the 26th of November. And midway through that dress rehearsal, he who shall not be named, the dude with the hair who lives at number 10.
Oh yeah, I've heard of him.
Yeah. He announced the whole tier restrictions and all that sort of stuff, so killed the tour. So they were midway through their last dress and it killed the tour. And we packed it up, put it in a van, put it in storage. And we're just like, it was a story that had to be told, and it felt like unfinished business. So fast forward to November the 1st this year, and I'm really thankful we have the same cast who came back, the same two that came back, it's two-hander, Misha and Jelani, who are brilliant. And we got it on its feet in 6 days. I think the standout highlight for me was we did 2 shows at the Tobacco Factory in Bristol. And I clearly hadn't been to Bristol, hadn't really been out of my home much for the last couple of years, last year. And obviously the Colston statue came down last June in the wake of George Floyd, and people realizing, some people realizing for the first time, and other people, I'm putting my hand up here, galvanized by actually this has been happening forever. So spotlight's on us, let's go. And that statue coming down, going into the harbour in Bristol, will be for me a defining image of 2020.
Yeah.
And because we were in Bristol, I kind of decided that I wanted to go and have a look. I wanted to go. I wanted to retrace those steps. So then Cass joined me and we went to the plinth. And the marks are still there. The mark that was left on the paving slab underneath the plinth is still there. And we did the walk from the plinth down to where it went into the harbour, which is longer than you think it is. and then carried on down to the M Shed, which is the bottom. If anyone knows Bristol, this will make sense. If it doesn't, we're talking about a mile and a half away. We walked down to the M Shed, which is where the statue is situated, with a contextualizing exhibition. And it was just, I just found it really moving, really moving. Of kind of thinking there were thousands of people in that square pulling that statue down and rolling all that way and putting it in that water. And I'm still not sure how I feel about it being dragged out of the water.
Right.
You know, still not sure about how I feel about that the plinth is still there in Colston Square. You know, yes, they've renamed the Colston Hall, but everyone still calls it that.
Yeah.
You know, it might be called the Bristol Beacon, but it still calls it that. And one of the things for the show, for My Voice, that I was really adamant about was that everything would be British. We'd really hone in on the Black British experience.
Yeah.
Because there is a massive thing whereby the experience of Black Brits is always mitigated and seen through the lens of American Black culture, which has its place. You know, I'm not kind of denigrating that. But I think because that's been lofted so high, people are forgetting and people don't realise that some of the stuff that happens in the States happens here.
I wondered how you as a theatre maker approach that rehearsal space where, you know, you've got these actors, you want to digest these themes, how you sort of look after them, how you look after your cast, how you look after yourself. But equally then, is there a point when you go, we just got to put on a play?
I couldn't approach this play if I didn't approach it. I couldn't approach any artistic work if it didn't come from somewhere deep in what I laughably call a heart. We spent the first week of rehearsals mining the text and doing the actory work and the theatre work. And then those side conversations came, and that's truth, and that's happened to me, or that's happened to someone I know. And then you get to a point where you go, right, so we know this is based in truth, which therefore heightens the need to tell that truth. And then actors do their work, and directors do their work, and light designers and sound designers do their work. But we never forget the genesis of that. And I think one of the things that I would always be thankful to Red Ladder for, and it was one of the conditions that I kind of set, and one of the things I spoke about when I took the job on, was to ensure that we had a counsellor in case anybody needed it. We were digging into areas that I didn't know where it was going to go. Also, I wanted the cast to be able to go and sleep in their own bed if they wanted to. So, you know, our cast, one of whom was, at the time she was based in Huddersfield, and the other member of cast based in Manchester, but it was commutable. It was, they could go home if they needed to, because I think it's massively important to be grounded, especially when you're dealing with things that are difficult.
If we were to play a song on East Leeds FM, what song would you like us to play on East Leeds FM?
So for the show, I put together a soundtrack, which was what the audience came into. And this year I added a song to the soundtrack, which is the one I'm going to ask you to play. And it's a song called You Know What by an artist called Graft, who is from Leeds. It kind of talks about the Black British experience. Like, all of the songs that we used were from Black British artists. And, you know, yes, we went for people like Graft, who work within grime and hip hop. We went for Stormzy, but we also went for bands like Block Party and Skunk and Nancy were in there, because they too are Black and British and making music.
Dirty. That's all I think about.
You know what? I see enough man hate but not make peas on the block. You know what? You the company you keep. Watch them friends that you got. You know what? Turn African mum if you try put hands in my pot. You know what? If you're talking scene, then graft this cream with a crop. You know why? Been pro on the mic from Bounty High. Way back I used to go in the dance with Nike, Max and Black Levi's. You know why? Back then we thought the swag was fly. Now that I'm wiser and older, you know what? You told no lie. I'm different to them man there. They make music, how it looks trendy. It's always drip and spill. Gucci, Louis Vuitton and Fendi. Like they've run out of subject topics. Wow man, I got plenty. I see how you hold your mic on stage. Can't compare we. There weren't no example in Leeds. I set that example properly. For the bad mind hating on me, just know only God can stop me. When you've done what I've done for the city, then big man, you can be cocky. I own the pitch, an experienced bagsman like Francesco Tops. Years I've been waiting for this. No better feeling seeing it happen. No chance I'm taking a piss. You're in full time, no slacking. I woke up, gave thanks, and promised I'd make it rapping. Then look where I end up now. GCO play dirty the pattern. You know what? I see enough man hate but not make peas on the block. You know what? You the company you keep. Watch them friends they you got. You know what? Ton African mum if you try put hands in my pot. You know what? If you're talking scene then graft this cream with a crop. You know why? Been pro on the mic from about knee high. Way back I used to go in the dance with Nike, Max and Black Levi's. You know why? Back then we thought the swag was fly. Now that I'm wiser and older, you know what? You told no lie. Small fish, you ain't got no bragging rights. Won't stop till my name's in lights and taking trips on private flights. Wanna own my private jet, get up on deck, private sex. One life, so live it the best. Same way pum get feel up, jump on beats and give it caress. I go in, wheel it, come back. Big man plan, but me can't share them. That's when info I leak like tap me a action man. Me no deal with chat, shush. Let music speak. You talk way too much on street. What kind of boss has pockets fat and not help their people eat? You know what? I see enough man hate but not make peas on the block. You know what? You the company you keep. Watch them friends they you got. You know what? Ton African mum if you try put hands in my pot. You know what? If you're talking scene then graft this cream with a crop. You know why? Been pro on the mic from about knee high. Way back I used to go in the dance with Nike, Max and Black Levi's. You know why? Back then we thought the swag was fly. Now that I'm wiser and older, you know what? You told no lie. GCO from the ground up to Pluto.
Beat it, flab face. I'm almost ready for blast off.
That was You Know What by Graft, a request from Dermot Daly, who is a legend.
We keep on saying the word legend. I've noticed that we're calling everyone a legend. It's because we know great people. We've got great people on the show.
Me and Natalie decided we're going to give each other a present live on air.
Yeah, so this is actually like a long-standing tradition that Henry and I have for kind of Christmas and birthdays and stuff, that we will often give each other tickets to go see a thing. We've done that for quite a long time, haven't we? We saw a Carla in Bradford. That was a birthday present for me. And Loki in Leeds.
Yeah, and then you got me a ticket to see the Skints, but I got my dates mixed up because it was a Blondie tribute band I was taking my dad to see, so we couldn't go to that one.
Yeah. Sarah Pascoe, we were on the front row. That was one. Yeah, so we've seen some great stuff. So we're continuing the tradition with all our little raptors sitting at home listening. So we've both got something here. Do you want to go first?
Okay, I'll go first. Okay. Hedwig and the Angry Inch at Leeds Playhouse.
Do you know it?
I know it's a thing.
You know it's a thing.
It's a musical. Is it a musical?
Yes. Well, what would you say if I said to you, Henry Raby, a euphoric night of rock and roll roller coaster with singer Hedwig, who is a hedonistic, genderqueer, anti-heroine, seemingly hell-bent on destruction?
I'd say that sounds like a banging night out, Natalie Quatermass. I look forward to it. Do we have to go in costume?
Yes, yeah.
Oh, wow.
I watched the film with John, who's my boyfriend, if you don't know, listening home. Forget that other people are listening. Watch the film, and it's brilliant.
Right,
it will be awesome. And we know the director is Jamie Fletcher, who's a friend of ours.
Okay.
So we hopefully get Jamie on the show.
Show.
Oh, exciting. Okay. I love this. Oh, come on. You're always so good at, like, drawing little pictures.
No, you've got to go the first one first.
First one first. Yeah. Hey, Nat, do you like the 6th of March? Do you like the Opera House in Manchester? Oh, my goodness. And there's a little picture of the Opera House. I've never been there. Do you like queer socialist left-wing singer-songwriter Grace Petrie? Are you kidding me? My future wife. Do you like Australian comedian writer Hannah Gatsby? Oh my lordy! Then your probs, Mebs, have a nice time on the 6th of March seeing Hannah Gatsby and Grace Petrie at the Opera House in Manchester. Woo!
Hey.
That is awesome. Oh, mate. Oh, my goodness. Oh, but I'm also, like, a bit scared of Hannah Gatsby. Like, she's so good. But I'm like, look after my heart. Please don't break my heart. You're so good.
I'll send her a message about if you damage Natalie's heart with your acerbic truth-telling stories.
And then I might need Grace to come back on and be like, everything is going to be fine. Don't worry about it.
I didn't know you'd heard the new album.
Yeah, that's it.
So we're going to go to another interview now, our second interview of the show with Sumayah Khan. So I've only met Sumayah. This is the second time meeting him when we did the interview. And it was really busy at work, so I had to do the interview in the cleaning cupboard.
That was great.
Probably why maybe my volume isn't great in it. But do you want to set up who is, now dare I say it, the legend that is Sumayah Khan?
Sumayah Khan is a really dear friend of mine. She's one of those friends that we are lucky if we speak to each other twice a year. But every time I talk to her, I just feel like we pick up exactly where we left off. And I think about her all the time. I feel like I've got a little Sumayah in my head, like talking all the time. And she's really articulate and expressive person. And actually, the reason I asked her to come for an interview is that after our first show that night, once we went home and were carving pumpkins, that night I fell asleep and I had a dream that I was interviewing Sumayah for this show. And I woke up and was like, that is such a good idea. And maybe she's not a typical guest because technically, like, she's not a employed artist in that her role is as a youth worker. And I knew as soon as I text her, what she would text back was, but I'm not an artist, I'm not an activist. And I think that's how a lot of people see themselves, which I just think is nonsense. She's one of the most creative, expressive people I know. And I just wanted to share her viewpoint with the world, with as many people as possible. So I love her very much.
Sumayah Khan, this is Nat to Sumayah Khan. Stop laughing at me. This is a very serious interview.
Laughing with you.
Yeah.
My
okay.
friend.
Thank you. Well, you are here because you're my very good friend. And I think, well, you were literally one of the first people that I dreamt about after me and Henry had our first recording, because when the words art and activism come to mind, my subconscious brings you up. And to me, you are one of the most expressive, creative people I know. But you strongly disagree, is that right?
I don't know if I disagree, probably. Yeah. I mean, maybe I don't disagree. I just don't feel like I do anything.
Well, go on. Why don't you start by telling people what you do? Do. What
do I do at the moment? At the moment, I am working for an organisation called Peach, the People's Empowerment Alliance for Custom House. It's a small organisation based in East London, where I am a youth organiser. And I'm working with young people to support them to organise within their community.
Is that why you're so cool and down with the kids?
Is that why I'm down with the kids?
Yeah.
They would never say I'm down with the kids at all. They constantly say things that I don't understand. And I don't try and... I've just accepted my fate. I am older than them. That's it,
Yeah.
And this is a job of an organiser rather than... And not to put down other youth workers or my other roles, but the role of an organizer is quite different to sometimes working in the charity sector, right? Even though we will be a charity soon. So this really is about young people deciding what they want to change and me just backing them, but also really massively talking to them and teaching them about power and organizing. Which, basically me and the young people are learning that together, which is an experience. It's, can be good, can be not great, but we are learning it together. And it means that we're just we're talking about power a lot and we are having, and there's no not pretending, basically. So when they talk about how we're going to do this, there's going to be a problem here. It's actually the council's really going to not be okay with this. They're not going to want this. How are we going to get them on board? How are we going to tell them they have to do this? And kind of talking about that. At the moment, our sessions are, we're trying to find, we're really doing this work together, which I think is quite funny because, not funny actually, I think it's good, but it really does take a lot longer to do stuff because I'm
Sure.
not just going in there being like, bang, we're going to do this, we're going to do that.
Yeah.
Instead, I'm like, okay, this session doesn't seem to be working today. You're obviously not into it. Why are you not into it? And then, you know, then they give the feedback and like, they're like, yeah, this is boring, or I do want to be interested in this, but this is not the format I can learn it in. And it's like, okay. And then like, I need to go back and change that again.
You know, when we first met, which was in an arts organisation in the West Bank, let's not forget that, in the Freedom Theatre, one of the first things you said to me was that you write poetry, and that's always been one of your go-to means of expressing yourself.
Was that one of the first things I said to you?
It was one of the first things, and you're like, this is one of my creative,
oh really,
you know, outlets. Sure, yeah, I really distinctly remember it.
Yeah, I started writing poetry when I was probably like 17 or 18. I can remember the exact incident. I won't go into it, but like I can remember the first poem I wrote and how cathartic it felt to like get those feelings outside and on paper. And then I just continued to do it. Basically, it was like, oh, okay, I feel really sad about this thing, which I felt really sad about lots of things. I, you know, Awa was a teenager, but you know, I had a bit of a difficult stuff, and so poetry was a way to like get things out. And I found it really difficult that there were cliques in the spoken word community, and it's funny because I don't think that I was excluded in these cliques. I think that actually I was very much included. And like I just remember going into some spaces and people would be like, oh my God, hi. And that's really nice. Obviously, you walk into a space and someone greets you really nicely. But I think there was one particular time where that happened. And then someone else came in behind me, like right behind me. And so they would have had all of that and nothing happened for them, obviously, because no one knew them either. So it's not like people were being mean. But, and like this is within any community, within any space, like I don't know why I've fixated on the spoken word community for this. It just means that I distance myself from it.
I think this is really important because when I'm putting on a gig and I'm hosting and organising it, I always get quite anxious and stressed, and I'm not very good at that chat and meeting and greeting and making people feel welcome. But my co-host Stu is really good at it, so he can take up those reins.
I think you can clearly tell that you're a damn good writer from what you put on Instagram in one space. But one that I saw recently was you buzzing from a DJing night that you'd been to.
Oh yeah,
because you said something along the lines like most of the time it's full of big white men, and this was full of people from Henry looked at himself then. But this particular night was far more South Asian brown people at it.
Yeah, I'm learning how to DJ. Woo!
Wow.
Or I've learned how to DJ. When do you ever say that you're done learning a skill? We'll never know. I did a DJ course earlier this year in the summer with, I think, are they a production company? Or I don't know what company they are, but they're called Saffron Records. And this program was called Mix Nights. And every Wednesday for about 2 months, we went to Pirate Studios and learned how to DJ with 3 quite famous DJs, to be honest. Some parts I was absolutely terrible at it, to be honest with you. We got to like maybe week 6 and me and my friend Ayam were just like, why do we not know anything? Why does everyone know everything else? And we were panicking. But it was great and I had lots of fun. And we had a showcase at the Cause, which is a club in Tottenham in London. And it's really sad because actually it's closing now. Which is a really, really sad thing. I've spent a lot of time at the Cause and I've had a really nice time. But that's where our showcase was, and we played some music there. But the night that you're talking about that I put on my Instagram was a night raising money for something. And there were 2 DJs that I really wanted to see. There was also Bicep there, but they weren't playing their own tracks. But there were 2 DJs, one called I Had a Dream and one called Young Sink, which if you're into music at all or kind of into the underground scene a bit, like you probably hear of their names because they're they're just doing really well at the moment, and like it's really exciting to see. I Had a Dream is Pakistani, Young Sing is Indian. I've been to the Cause so many times, and mainly I go, they're all like different clubs in London, and they're just really tall white men who all wear white t-shirts. Anyway, so I went to that night, and it was really beautiful. It was really beautiful to listen to their music, to listen to the tracks that I've listened to again and again, and this time I'm hearing it in a club really loud, and I bought earbuds beforehand so I could go really close to the speaker and like not, do bad things to my ears. I am here and I'm enjoying this music, and I can feel it in my body, and like that is really nice. And they also played some like, old school South Asian tracks of like things that you would play at weddings, that we used to play at weddings in the 90s and stuff like that. And I was just
Amazing.
like, what is this?
Oh.
And it was really good. And I just remember going home and feeling like really content and just thinking like, now I can finally understand what some of my friends have felt when they go to nights out, and they're like, oh my body feels it. And I was just like, I just don't have that, because South Asian music has never really made it to the like London clubs. I don't know if you know of like the daytime parties in the like, I think it was like the 80s by like lots of South Asians. So like I think mainly like places like Southall, Birmingham, where like, Bhangra has definitely grown up or come from. There were parties put on in the daytime, so South Asian girls and people that aren't, or like, they weren't really allowed out or whatever at night, they can go to these parties as well. And it's like a massive part of like British South Asian history in terms of music and dance and the club scene, because it was really inaccessible to South Asians basically.
Sumayah, what track would you like to nominate for us to play on East Leeds FM?
I am gonna ask you guys to play a song or a track called Heap, I think it's pronounced, by a DJ called Manj.
Wow, so that was Here by Manj, who in her email, Sumayah says he's a producer, not a DJ, but she doesn't quite understand those labels, and neither do I, but I loved it. And now I do believe it is time for Henry's favourite part of the show. It's time when Henry gets to do his own thing.
Hello and welcome back to this year's Eisteddfod. Coming up next, we're very lucky to have a performance from the acclaimed soloist Henry Reeby. I don't know what's going on here. Sounds like he's doing his own thing.
That's right, folks. It's time for Henry Does His Own Thing, my favourite feature. Okay, here's a brand new poem for you folks. I've never performed it live before. I think I might have done actually on a Zoom, but this is beyond the world of Zoom. This is digital radio, so please enjoy. York, like all cities, my home is haunted. I'm not talking about the attractions cheaper via coupon, where theatre graduates apply makeup for jump scares, or robed entrepreneurs entertain tours at allotted hours, no. In back rooms of pubs and beyond the bars, I have supped where spirits insist on sticking around. With an IPA in me one night, I saw 3 ghosts rally round a table. Dickens' short story spooks taking shots. Who's got the next round? A man dragged straight from the 1800s stands and raises his tankard. Looks like he was dragged straight through a thorny bush. A toast to the Nottingham captain, he barks to the bar and regales the tale of Luddite uprisings and noose evaders who took up arms to wipe out the national debt. A toast to King Lud, whoever he may be, and curse the blue bloods who sent us to die in Waterloo mud. A curse on the lawmen and magistrates, may they drink poison and drown out their guts. The other ghosts down drinks into floating bellies like Caspers on a pub crawl. Another pipes up, Percy Shelley lived here in York, that romantic swine, and if his ghost comes crawling in, I'll give him a piece of my mind. He penned that poem about standing still, I quote, and if then the tyrants dare, let them ride among you there, slash and stab and maim and hew, what they like let them do. Well, Shelley, I was at Peterloo, and when they came to grind us down, I'll tell every future protester to always stand your ground. What use is it to have a blade or bat and batter you? Picket line, Augury Field, to be made motorway, or Whitehall wailing against fees and cuts. They made me a ghost too soon, was British sabres spilled my blood. In the smoking area, the third ghost was a girl swirling with mist, a being of incorporeal fog, lost aside the vapours and smokers outside. She was young and spoke with an Irish tongue. I'm glad these lighters and vapes are the modern way. My sisters and I made matches in London factories. Beware the phossy jaw, we'd warn and cry. For every 19 that lived, one of us would die. She sung of unionising and igniting walkouts, of street-blocking police and their own strikes, and when one bloke muttered, "Hey, it's health and safety gone mad," she set fire to the twat. The Beacon brought in more ghosts who agreed, "Aye, this pub is rather good, beer tastes a lot better than at the Rose Street Club." And that night I met the ghosts of rioters and mutineers, diggers, blanketeers, Luddites, Chartists, Owenites, Specians, the toll puddle from Tolpuddle to Aberdare, the starving and the starved, the deported and the chained, supped ales and gins through chipped teeth, broken jaws, each with a story about the state and kings and laws, and in the distance, carried over blooded seas by bitter winds, the haunting rive of coins and boats and whips and coffers bloated, statues raised and cursed legacies. And when the last order's bell tolled, it didn't toll for these rebel spooks. Off they went en masse, singing songs into the skies like banshees all with booze up to their eyes. After all, they were making up for time lost, suffering under the Seditious Meetings Act. They tried to career into the club before a bouncer said, "Excuse me, have any of you pale folks got some form of ID?" So I left these spirits outside the club trying to get in and threatening a haunting, when I went home and wrote this poem and did some angry tweeting. And it strikes me like the lick of Sambuca flame on a Saturday night. Our ghosts would give this fresh cop of Masters a decent fight.
Oh, wow. Henry, I love it. I love it.
When
did
love
you write
the
that?
1800s. I've been writing it over months.
Have you?
It's quite rare, really, to just keep
Yeah.
adding bits. It's quite a bit of a Wikipedia poem.
Is it? What do you mean by that?
Poems that you write with Wikipedia tabs open. So
Okay,
it's,
yeah,
but-
lots of references.
Yes, but I mean, I've
Sure.
always loved the radicalism of the 1800s, and
Always.
always since I was a wee lad,
Yeah.
a babe in arms. But for a mate's stag do, because that's the kind of people we are, we went to
Yeah.
the People's History Museum, and I also read a book over lockdown about revolting revolutionaries of the sort of 1700s into the 1900s and the fight for a republic. And I generally think that we were on the verge of revolution. There was more disdain for masters and kings and queens. Like there's quotes people saying that the country was constantly on the verge of revolution in this idea that there was constant organizing and mobilizing anarchic
Just working,
momentum of just we're not taking this anymore, and that's where like many anarchists would say that organizations like the TUC and the Labour Party, they control the working class, whereas they didn't exist. So actually you've just got this massive class consciousness ripe for revolution. Anyway,
Wow.
but yeah, that's my poem. So any feedback, email it to feedback@henryraby.
That's amazing. No, while I was listening to it, I was thinking about ghosts, and it is, Christmas time. I do believe in a little bit of magic at this time of year. I believe in the goodness of men and ghosts of present and past and future. They usually come in a different order: past, present, and future. And I was thinking about all the ghosts that I was imagining all the people that we've mentioned in the show today. So we've got music from Anne Feeney, or me quoting Bell Hooks, or Dermot and Sumayah and Himanj and Sam Cooke, and all those people kind of standing around us. And I got a little tingle up my spine and thought, oh, maybe the flame of hope is stirring in me. You managed to do it. Well done.
And that night, Natalie was visited by 3 ghosts: the ghost of hope, the ghost of anger, and the ghost of being an absolute legend.
The third one is my favourite.
So that's it for Vandal Factory episode 3. We will return in the new year.
We will.
For more absolute scrapes and shenanigans.
Oh, mate. I wish you a very, very Merry Christmas.
Mate, I wish you a Happy New Year.
Good.
So we're going to finish now with a song by a band called Dream Nails. They are a amazing queer feminist riot girl band, and I had the fortune of they were one of the first bands I saw when restrictions started easing, and they've released a Christmas song, because every punk band eventually releases a Christmas song.
Hooray!
And this is sort of a beacon to anyone that is in a lonely place this Christmas, especially people in the LGBTQ community who sometimes have really difficult Christmases with families that don't respect and accept them. So this is an absolute banger, and it's our last song, and it's called Lonely Star.
Christmas, and outside of this Christmas, do the people at home make you feel more alone? A heteronormative bar, is that what family's for? When the people at home make you feel more alone. We see you this Christmas, we see you the whole year through, sending strength and love.
Amelia?
I do think they got one thing right, you know.
What's that?
Find a lonely star tonight and tell them